Good morning. This is Jane Bradley, CEO and founder of SmartSpider.net, your one resource for professionals and consultants in the 505. I'm happy today to have as my guest for this interview my longtime friend, business associate, and cohort for doing good for small business in Albuquerque. It's Mr. Leroy Pacheco, who is the president, CEO of the Loan Fund for New Mexico. Welcome, Leroy, and thank you for joining me.
Well, good morning, Jane Bradley. Good morning, Smart Spider. It's great to see you again. It's been a long year of quarantine and etc. So it's good to catch up with you.
Isn't it great that we're being able to get back together again? We saw each other in your office not too long ago, and it was so good for me to be there. For our audience's benefit, Leroy and I have been friends and worked together for small business assistance help for about 18 years. We both started when we were teenagers, didn't we, Leroy?
It's been a wonderful relationship, Jane. We'll talk a little bit about the success of Smart Spider and the success of the Loan Fund over the last number of years. And I think it's based on like minds, thinking about things that small businesses need and providing those services, which Smart Spider does. So really excited to be with you today and update you a little bit on what the Loan Fund's been doing and also what we have in the future for Smart Spider. I think it's really exciting today. So thank you.
Absolutely. For an FYI for our guest today, when Smart Spider started 4.5 years ago, Leroy Pacheco and the Loan Fund was our very, very first community partner. And they have been right there with our logo, with their logo on our website ever since, and collaborating, which is what Smart Spider is all about, is collaboration. So thank you for all these years of dedication and support.
My pleasure.
Leroy, tell us a little bit about the Loan Fund. How did it get started and when?
You know, the Loan Fund is a very unique nonprofit. In the late 80s, New Mexico was #1 in poverty in the United States. And a group of teachers and lawyers and bankers and community organizers, etc., set up a Pocket of Poverty Committee and started figuring out what they could do to make New Mexico a better place. So that Pocket of Poverty Committee was able to get a grant from Hands Across America that was given to the New Mexico Conference of Churches. And New Mexico Conference of Churches says, what are we going to do about housing? And they set up Habitat for Humanity. What are we going to do about domestic issues? And they set up the Samaritan Counseling Center. What are we going to do about seniors? They set up the Encino House. How are we going to feed people? They set up the Storehouse. How are we going to create jobs and make things better in New Mexico? And they set up the Loan Fund with no money. But the Loan Fund was able to talk to the Adrian Dominican sisters who lent us, not gave us, lent us $100,000 in 1989 to start the Loan Fund under the umbrella of the New Mexico Conference of Churches. So we were very, very fortunate to have the angels visit us very, very early in the life of the Loan Fund. Today, Jane Bradley, after 30 years, the Loan Fund has made over $102 million worth of loans and created over 12,000 jobs and has outstanding right now about $25 million to restaurants, artists, chefs, welders, bus drivers, from Santa Teresa to Angel Fire. So we're quite excited that the strategic plan for the Loan Fund with past board members like yourself who served on our board, with others like Chandra Manning and today John Lewinger, Dr. Herb Crosby, Nick Nagy, and others that you know, we've created an organization that has, you know, managed through the worst depression in the history of the United States starting in 2008. And all of a sudden we had to manage through the 2020 pandemic of COVID. And so we're very, very fortunate to have partners like Smart Spider that we can count on to give advice and help to some of our clients.
Oh, Leroy, I want you to just say the number of dollars and the jobs since 1989. Just say that number again because it's so powerful.
It is not only powerful, but it has been great, Jane, to see the transfer. I have been honored to work and watch the transfer of the succession of skills and experience and energy of passion from a son or a daughter that came from the mother or the father, that came from the grandmother or the grandfather, and watch it over generations. We are making generational change. We have lent out $102 million and created over 12,000 jobs in the last 30 years.
Leroy, I know the difference, and a lot of us may think we know the difference, but there is a vast difference that may be unknown. Why are you different than going to a bank if you're a small business in New Mexico? And you're all over New Mexico, aren't you?
Yes, and again, it's in the partnership with being a what's called a nonprofit intermediary. We are a certified development financial institution under the U.S. Treasury, and what we do is we partner with banks, credit unions, individuals who want to make loans but can't make them because of their policies, such as a bank. I'm a former banker, and it was really difficult to fit the type of clients we lend into because they lack the collateral, they lack the cash flow. They didn't have the credit score and et cetera. So we make those loans that some people don't want to make. So we take the risk on and are excited about. I can tell you, Jane, out of $102 million in 30 years, we have only written off about $1.6 million. That is just a tremendous effort showing that we're not making bad loans. We're just making good loans that require structure, that require patience, that require time. And we do take a 74 Maverick and a black and white TV if that's all you have. But if you can show us that you make the best tortillas in the South Valley, we're willing to invest in that. If you can show me that your grandma helped you make the best salsa in the Northwest Valley, then we'll help you with that salsa. So we lend to people because of what they know, what they've learned. And it is, again, I want to say that again, an honor to watch. The other day I had a grandfather, a father, and a son who have been in business 50 years as I watched the transfer of the ownership from the grandfather to the grandson, who was so excited about being the president of his tree trimming business in Chama, New Mexico. We're not lending to Costco's and Walmart's and Home Depots. We're lending to that corner barbershop, that welder, that artist, that chef, people like Myra Gaddis from Slate Street to open up her new restaurant, 66 acres, to Vernon's restaurant on 4th Street, Vernon's Hidden, to the GT and Oil gas station. You name it, we're lending to Maria Michoacan in Las Cruces, who now has become the biggest paleta distributor and retail store in Las Cruces. Lorenzo's Italian Food, Nueva Casitas makes the best empanaditas. You can go to Angel Fire and find the Jaramillo brothers at Black Lake Roasters and Taos Valley Honey. So we're lending to honey makers, paleta makers, chefs, consultants, etc. throughout New Mexico.
That is so wonderful because most of the group that you just mentioned are sort of shut out of traditional banking because of rules and regulations, and banks want so many guarantees, but you also need those guarantees. You're not just throwing away your partners and collaborators' money on every whim. You have to go through all of the processes and procedures to get a loan. You have to have all of the documentation. You can't get away from that. But in the end, you have staff there that will help them not only get the loan, but follow up with them to help them be successful, don't you?
Yes, and this is a good partnership between Smart Spider and the Loan Fund. You know, when we see someone who, the first thing we do is what do you make? What's your service? Do you make tortillas? Do you weld? Are you a contractor? What do you do? Do you have the business partners that we'd like to have? Who does your accounting? What is your legal structure? Do you have insurance? How do I find you? Radio, TV, newspapers, and have you separated Jane Bradley Inc. from Jane Bradley Personal? And then business plan. Do you need a business plan? Well, maybe you do, but it's like driving at night with no lights on. Sooner or later, you're going to hit somebody, or somebody's going to hit you because you don't know where you're going. So we ask you to tell us, who are you? What do you want to do? Where are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And how are you going to do it? And usually it's how are you going to do it with money from the loan fund. But we also help you structure with, and you have a very good program. Smart Spider has Ask the Pro, which is really great. And those are meetings that are before the meetings that we have. And we try and tell people, go to your drawer somewhere in the garage or your, open up your drawer and put your resume there. Put your personal financial statement there. If you've been published, let me look at it. Do you have a personal financial statement? Let me see it. The last 2 years of personal financial statements. If you have a business, let me see the business financial statement and the tax returns for the last 2 years. Do you have a health plan? Let me see it. Do you have a 401k? Let me see it. Do you have a GB98 license? Let me see it. So that you're prepared when you come to see us. Because normally we'll ask you, as you indicate, we ask the same questions they do at the bank. We use the same ratios they do at the bank, but we're a little bit more flexible. We're not a collateral lender. We are a cash flow lender. Can you make that many tortillas? Can you sell that many coffees? What can you do? And we try and fit a loan. Your credit score really tells me how you pay your Verizon bill and how you play P&M. It doesn't tell me if I can put a $50,000 loan into your cash flow. So we have very good financial doctors here. I have some of the most experienced staff that I've worked with in the last 50 years here at the Loan Fund. We have really credible individuals that know how to underwrite your loan and give you the flexibility and the patience that you need from the funding that you may not be able to get from your bank.
Oh, Leroy, this has been so informative for our listeners. I'm sure that after today's interview, your phone will ring off of the hook because people are excited about going back to business, being without income for over a year, even with the stimulus checks, which were wonderful. But, you know, if you were used to having cash flow to keep your business afloat, and that was cut off mostly for over a year, everybody could use some encouragement in the way of money and encouragement in the way of someone who is an expert to talk to about it. So we have an exciting announcement, don't we, Leroy?
I think so.
After 16 months of no professional to professional mixers in Albuquerque, smartspider.net, sponsored by the Loan Fund, will have our first business to business and pro to pro mixer at Bubba's 33 off of the interstate over on Restaurant Road in Albuquerque on the last Tuesday in June. Mark your calendars. Leroy will be there offering a toast to welcome us back into business. We're going to have all kinds of things. Leroy, will the Loan Fund have a table with some of your staff there? So if somebody comes and wants to say, hey, I need a loan, you can have paperwork for them?
We will have not only paperwork, we want to let them know that during last year, 2020, while everybody else was scrambling, scared and anxious, we lent out over $11 million last year during the worst pandemic. Over 50% were to women-owned businesses and minorities through the state of New Mexico. Isn't that wonderful? And so we want to announce on the 29th there, we will have a table there. I will have loan officers. We'll have loan applications. And I tell you what, we will have people there that if you come and tell us your story and we like it, pending us looking at the documents that you say you have, we can make a loan right on the spot. I will guarantee you right now, if I see something that looks really good, I will instruct my loan officers to make a contingent approval pending the application, pending what you have. And so we're there to produce like Smart Spider has been doing for years. We're there to produce. We are there to inform, we are there to teach, and we are there to make sure that you're connected to who you need to be connected. Part of the problems that's happened to small business over the years, it takes them a long time to get connected to the right place for the right information, for the right amount of money that they need. You know, someone asked us the other day, Jane, in closing, what our philosophy here was at the loan fund on making loans. We're sort of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Can't always get what you want if you've heard the Rolling Stones, but sometimes you can get what you need, right?
Right.
And sometimes if you tell us the right thing, we're like the Simon and Garfunkel, bridge over troubled water. We'll get you that place. And then we're also, and I tell my son and daughter this all the time, is we work like you do, 8 days a week, that Beatles song. We work 8 days a week at the Loan Fund. So I want to thank you again for not only being a continued partner with Smart Spider, being a sponsor here to get people back together, and come and have a glass of champagne with us at Bubba's, I hope, in June 29th. We look forward to telling you more about the Loan Fund. And I hope at that time too, Jane Bradley, I'll have another 4 or 5 people to bring into the fold with Smart Spider.
Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful. I want to thank our guests for joining us today, and the people who watched us, but my very special guest, the Mr. Loan Fund and the lender to small businesses in New Mexico, Leroy Pacheco, and the Loan Fund. This is Jane Bradley saying, have a happy, healthy, prosperous, and productive day.